I'm Chase Sr. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. Thank you so much for being here, and we have another loaded show coming your way. Kyle Shanahan revealed something shocking, and I have a lot of thoughts about that. We're going to start there. Why the Niners paid Deommodore Lenoir that 5-year, $92 million contract extension, and Deebo Samuel's favorite Brock Purdy trait. It's all coming your way. But let's begin with this, and I have to go off. This is bad news. Kyle Shanahan said on Wednesday that the 49ers won't devote more practice time to one of the worst special teams units that I've ever seen, a special teams unit that has held this team back and cost them games on multiple occasions this year. Shanahan said, quote, "I feel like we do as much as we can." That drives me crazy. That makes me want to pull my hair out. And this special teams unit, week in and week out, is the Niners' Achilles heel. This is really mind-boggling to me. The 49ers have one of the worst special teams units in the NFL, and they're not going to spend any more practice time on it. Now, we're going to talk about DVOA and EPA. Let's begin with DVOA defined for those of you who aren't familiar with some of these analytics. It stands for Defense Adjusted Value over Average. It calculates a team's success based on the down and distance of each play during the season, then calculates how much more or less successful each team is compared to the league average. Well, you look at the Niners' DVOA rankings this year, and they've been a good offensive team and defensive team based on this metric. Third in offensive DVOA, fourth in defensive DVOA, special teams, 31st. Second to last in the National Football League. It's not acceptable for a team that has Super Bowl aspirations. And you know what's crazy? All this special teams unit has to do is be average. That's it. Yet they can't even be average. And maybe a little bit of practice time can elevate them to being average in that critical third phase of the game. As for EPA, expected points added, it is a metric used in football to measure how well a team or player performs on a play-by-play basis. EPA is the difference in expected points between one play and the next. EP is an estimate of how many points a team is likely to score on a drive based on factors like down, distance, time remaining, and yard line. Look at how the Niners have ranked in EPA on special teams the last 5 years. In 2020, 29th among 32 teams. In 2021, 24th. 2022, 13th, middle of the pack. That's where the Niners can live, and I'll accept that. 2023, 23rd, and this year, second to last in the NFL. And the Niners lost 12.2 expected points against Tampa Bay. The 3 missed Jake Moody field goals, the botched punt, which led to a touchdown for Tampa Bay. That's 16 points right there. That decides the game, and then some. The season total for expected points, the Niners are at a 29-point deficit. And since 2020, the time frame that we just showed you, 7 games with a double-digit expected points lost. They've been on the plus side just once. And based on DVOA, going back to that metric, the 49ers lose a field goal every game on average due to bad special teams play. And I always like to say this because a lot of people don't realize it. NFL games are more often than not decided by one score or less. And when you think about some of these tight playoff games between two really good teams, these games are decided on the margins. And this could be the undoing for this Niners team here in 2024. And here's what Kyle Shanahan had to say about his special teams unit. We devote a lot of meeting time and practice time. We won't double down on that, the time spent on it, because I feel like we do as much as we can. We have mixed a lot of guys in there. And I get it. With personnel, injuries do happen. It impacts your special teams unit. The Niners have devoted financial resources to bring in special teams players. For instance, they signed George Odom to that contract extension, but not devoting more time to a critical phase of the game, which has cost you repeatedly this year. This ain't it. Kyle Shanahan needs to take special teams more seriously. Bill Belichick would never approach it in this way. Mike Tomlin, Andy Reid, they don't approach it that way. John Harbaugh was a former special teams coordinator before he became a head coach. He takes that phase of the game much seriously. But when you think about Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay and Matt LaFleur, for whatever reason, they ignore it. And this can be the difference oftentimes between a win and a loss. This approach and this line of thinking is a crime against humanity. And we are subjected to seeing it week in and week out. And what's crazy, one, it's avoidable. Two, all they have to be is mediocre. They can't even muster that. So if this 49ers special teams unit drives you crazy like it does for me, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video right now. Story number 2 coming up. Why the Niners paid Deommodore Lenoir and Deebo Samuel's favorite Brock Purdy trait. Stay tuned for that, but first, let me spend a few moments telling you about our friends at Prize Picks, the best daily fantasy sports app in the game and the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings handed out, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. They have a bunch of specials like Taco Tuesday, and when you sign up today, you get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Our selection's looking ahead to Niners Seahawks, a huge game in the NFC West. Brock Purdy more than 263.5 passing yards. Christian McCaffrey against one of the worst rushing defenses in the NFL. Seattle, they are 26th in rushing yards per game and yards per carry. I think McCaffrey can go well over that 77.5 number, and then Geno Smith, more than 14.5 rushing yards. Daily Fantasy Sports made easy. You pick 2 or more players, you choose more or less. Run your game with Prize Picks, and you get that deal. $50 when you play 5 when you use that link down below, prizepicks.com/CLNS. So some big Niners news this week that we covered the other day right here on the channel because that's what we do. This is the standard for Niners talk right here on YouTube. You know the deal. San Francisco signing Deommodore Lenoir to a 5-year, $92 million contract extension on Tuesday. The 2021 fifth-round pick gets a bag. That comes out to an average annual value of $18.4 million. That ranks 12th among cornerbacks. And Lenoir, the Niners approached him prior to the year about signing a contract extension. He didn't sign it at the time. He wanted to bet on himself and prove that he's one of the top corners in the game. That's all that he's done this year. He's been legitimately playing at an all-pro, Pro Bowl caliber level. And so it literally paid off for him, where he's getting $18.4 million per year and $92 million in total. That's a really good payday for a guy who has been a great bargain for San Francisco as that fifth-round pick. And Kyle Shanahan said he was, quote, pumped up about the Niners retaining Deommodore Lenoir, keeping him around for the foreseeable future. Here's a direct quote. He's exactly what we want as a Niner. His style of play, how good he's become, and really just how much he loves football. He really does love football, and you see it with him. You see it with Fred Warner. These are 2 leaders on the defense who take the field any given day, and they're ready to take the soul away from the opponent. They're ready to lay a big hit, make a big play, and they just play with so much great energy. And how I started the show was with the subject of why the Niners paid the hyena. Great nickname, by the way. And let me expand on that. This is why the San Francisco 49ers paid Deommodore Lenoir. Obviously, he was in the final year of his contract. The Niners are locking up a young core player who's gotten better every year that he's been in the National Football League. I think San Francisco wanted to get ahead of the market. Lenoir wanted to wait in order to sign this contract because he felt as though he's one of the top corners in the game. And so he didn't take the deal going into the year, and now he's getting paid more. But if the Niners were to wait until after the year, another team may have outbid them if they were really desperate for a corner, and maybe they would have given Lenoir $20 million average annual value instead of the 18.4 that San Francisco is paying him. He has given up just 4 touchdowns in 4 years, and this year he's been a lockdown corner on the inside and on the outside. He hasn't surrendered a touchdown in coverage. I think the Niners really like that aforementioned versatility because he plays whatever role that Nick Sorensen and Kyle Shanahan ask of him. In addition to Fred Warner, he's really becoming a leader on the defense, both vocally and with the way that he plays. Him and Renardo Green are the future outside corners for this team. I think this signals that Charvarius Ward will be playing elsewhere in 2025. He's going to be too expensive. You let that money walk, you pay Lenoir, and now you have Renardo Green on that rookie deal. This is also a great developmental story for San Francisco. Yet another 5th-round pick that the Niners hit on, and he's going to be a core member of this team for years to come. He certainly deserves it, and he's climbed the rankings for one of my favorite Niners on this team with the way that he plays and how great he's been. Story number 3 here on the show. Deebo Samuel's favorite trait about Brock Purdy. Now, statistically, Brock Purdy's numbers are down this year. And because of that, I don't think he's going to be in the MVP conversation because his numbers pale in comparison to a quarterback like Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, or Jared Goff, even after the 5-interception performance in a win against the Houston Texans. But I will say that the Niners would be screwed without Brock Purdy. And when I talk about MVP conversations, I look at it in this manner. Take that player away from that team, how would that team perform? The Niners without Brock Purdy would be terrible. And this is what Deebo said about his favorite trait pertaining to the Niners starting quarterback. Quote, "We were just on the way back from Tampa. I walked past him, and he looked a little frustrated. And I'm like, bro, what's going on? He almost threw for 400 yards. We almost won that game." He said, "Bro, I just got to be better." That's always his mentality. He was just sitting there beating himself up like, I got to make this throw. It's just the little things about Brock, and that's what you guys get to see for sure. The leadership skills about him are what are through the roof. Even though he almost threw for 400 yards, the guy was like, I got to be better for you guys and make this play and make that play. I'll tell you what, Brock Purdy is not the biggest quarterback in stature. He does not have the strongest arm. He has some elite traits which make him a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. Processing, timing, touch, accuracy. You know what's really special too? It's the mindset of a winner. The mindset of a champion. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. They might drop 30 to 40 points, but they are always going to look back at the tape and they're going to identify what they did wrong and what they can do better. And the mindset of a winner is the mindset where you are always looking for ways to get better. And I wish that everybody had that type of mindset because we would be better as a society. And every athlete should have that mindset because they would be better athletes. And I'll say, I can have great shows. I'll go back and watch them and I'll say to myself, kicking myself in the butt because I may have messed up on a word. I didn't like a transition. If you want to be great, you are constantly on the pursuit of being great. And for Brock Purdy to have that type of mentality after he attempted 36 passes and had one of the better throwing days of his career where he threw for almost 4 bills and made an incredible touchdown throw to George Kittle, another great throw to Christian McCaffrey, and he went 4 of 4 on meaningful throws on that final drive to set up a game-winning field goal. Yet Brock Purdy is saying, I can be better here. I can be better there. I should have made that throw. I should have made this throw. Niners are in good hands at the quarterback position, and I'm glad that Deebo Samuel pointed that out. Be sure to give me a follow on X. Give me a follow on Instagram. You can find me at Chase_Senior. On my Instagram and X pages, I put out so much Niners content in addition to everything that I cook up here.